Welcome to the Mark McIntyre Show, Minds That Matter. Thank you for listening. We're here every Wednesday afternoon from, well, I guess it's 2 to 3, yes. Then we're rebroadcast again on Wednesday evening from 10 to 11. Rebroadcast again Saturday from 4 to 5. And, of course, most people are joining us on the stream these days at newspress.com during those times that we are broadcasting live. And, of course, all of my programs are archived in MP3s on markmcintire.com, MarkMcintire. My mother always said to spell it because they want to put a Y there. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to go through my usual housekeeping chores today, as I normally do. The reason is because I want to get to my guest immediately, and the reason for that is because I'm very, very privileged to be able to preview the publication of what I think is going to be a world-changing book. And when I say world-changing, I mean this book is going to have a similar impact that Marshall McLuhan's book had back in the 60s and the 70s, his very famous book, The Medium is the Message. And it's even going to be as important, dare I say, as the seminal works of Sir Isaac Newton. Now, I know you're going to say that is an astonishing comment to make. How could that possibly be true? Stay tuned and listen, because I have in my studio a person I think that will prove that claim to be true. He is back here for the second time. We interviewed him some time ago concerning his work in virtual reality. He is, of course, the author and lecturer Mykhailo Stevenson Klein. He is a leading thinker and pioneer in public policy as it affects virtual reality. Virtual ethics is one of the lecturing topics that he is busy with these days, besides completing this book. Mykhailo is an associate researcher at the Ethics and Emerging Science Group at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, and is the author of his first book, Power, Madness, and Immortality, The Future of Virtual Reality. That was his first book, and that's the reason why he was on our show some time ago. He also is responsible for a workflow automation software package, and Mykhailo did his graduate work at in technology and society at San Jose State University. Actually had to construct his own master's degree because there really wasn't anybody around that could set it up for him, so he did it himself. He is also a sort of a homegrown thinker and writer. He was a graduate of Westbound College, receiving his B.S. degrees in engineering physics and philosophy. Thank you very much. And he was honor graduate student of the year. Honor philosophy student of the year there. Well, the reason why he's on today is because he is going to preview the publication of his latest book, which is entitled The Virtual State and the Fall of Empires. The Virtual State and the Fall of Empires. And in this book, Mykhailo actually is going to propose something that will bring headlines across the world. Mykhailo, welcome to the show again.
Great to be here, Mark.
Good to see you. Just to get right into the book itself, you ask in this new book, The Virtual State and the Fall of Empires, you pose the question, do we lose our basic rights guaranteed in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights every time we go online? Is that why you wrote the book? Does the virtual world threaten our constitutional rights?
Is this book about constitutional protections? Well, yes, but it's larger than that. It's about extending the American way of life into virtual space. It's about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we can put it in terms of constitutional protections, but we could also put it in terms of protecting our children. Let me tell a story. A young girl named Megan Meier. On November 24th, 2007, a candlelight vigil was held in memory of Megan Meier, a 13-year-old girl who committed suicide after being bullied online.
I remember the story, yeah.
Megan had become infatuated with Josh Evans, a hot 16-year-old boy who lived down the street, played guitar and drums, and was from a broken home. Although Megan had struggled with self-esteem things were different now. On October 16th, Megan handed out invitations for her birthday party and came home to see if Josh had replied. When she logged onto the internet, her classmates ridiculed her. Megan is fat, Megan's a slut, and Josh posted, "The world would be a better place without you." Megan went to her room and hung herself with a belt. Josh Evans never existed. He was the creation of one of their neighbors, the mother of one of Megan's classmates. My friends tell me that online bullying, don't worry, whatever you put on Facebook, it's not that big a deal. Don't worry about it. It's not like anybody's going to look at it anyway. But when I look at the headlines today, I come to a very different conclusion. Like in the real world, we have a need for law enforcement. We need to address important issues online. We need to prevent harm. We need to mediate conflict. What are our rights in virtual space? How can we protect our privacy? Are our rights not guaranteed in the Constitution?
So basically, that is the entree that, your first book introduced us to the concept of virtual reality. And just as people like me who are ignorant and stupid about what virtual reality entails, it's taken me 3 years actually to digest your earlier work. So you started with virtual reality. Then you wrote another book about virtual ethics and social structure. Now you're actually, with this book, which I think is the most important of the trilogy, The Virtual State, you're describing what we see behind the bullying headlines, young people committing suicide. There are so many examples, and I think you're going to go through some of the stories. You do a very neat job of weaving the stories from the headlines into the conceptual issues and your basic argument, which I take it to be that the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, and the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States have never been interpreted, have never been applied, have never been extended to include our digital rights in virtual space. Is that correct?
Do our rights apply in virtual space? Well, let me give you an example. If we're sitting at the table talking, we're having conversation, well, our rights are protected under the Constitution. But if there's, let's say, we're sitting next to someone at Starbucks and we're disturbing them. So we decide rather than talking face to face, we have our laptops there, so we'll chat over laptops. Well, as soon as we start IMing back and forth, suddenly it seems that we have lost our constitutional protections. Mm-hmm. And yet, how could this be? Let me give you another example. Online, when you're online and you're chatting with someone online, when you're online, are you in the privacy of your own home? Are you chatting with someone in a private room? Are you in public? We're not sure how to interpret these situations.
Well, yeah, because the framers of the Constitution, I can't speak for them. They're not friends of mine. I don't have dinner with them on a regular basis. However, I suspect, although I do not know for certain, that Thomas Jefferson and James Madison would be astonished at the prospect that your mind, thoughts that you have, and expressions of speech that you have mentally could be transmitted through the ethos and could be plucked from the air by magnificent machines, which is what we have now. So when I read your book, The Virtual State and the End of Empires, that was the thing that just brought me up. It made my eyes boil to think that no one has thought of this. No one except you have thought that we need to extend and clarify these basic rights. For instance, the Megan story that you just
Megan Meyer.
related. Yeah, Megan Meyer. That was her mother. Someone's mother created this false identity, this avatar, if you will, resulting in a young girl's suicide. This is, and the only reason she was able to do this is because of the virtual world.
Yes, it's necessary for us to go out and really clarify our basic constitutional rights. And as a result, it's necessary to clarify that in the 28th Amendment.
And in the book, you actually propose the 28th Amendment to the Constitution.
That is correct.
Of the United States. And we're going to actually read the 28th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. But before we even do that, we're going to just indicate that there are 18 chapters in your book. We don't have time, unfortunately, on the radio show that we're doing today to go through all 18. But we do have time to, I think, go through 4 of the major segments of your book. And in the first part of your book, the chapters, the early part of your book, it states the problem, which is what you're doing now. The problem is that we don't have any extension of basic human constitutional rights why is that? Why is it that we have never thought of this, that we haven't thought to move constitutionally into virtual space?
Well, with the introduction of any new communication technology, there is always this period of initial confusion. Because I think I may have mentioned in the last show.
You did, yes.
In 1905, the electrical journal Telephony reflected new inventions, technologies, processes are always bringing up questions of law,
right.
Puzzling lawyers, laymen, and judges alike.
All right. Well, when we get back from break, we're going to ask you to actually read your proposed 28th Amendment to the Constitution. I am Mark McIntyre. This is Minds That Matter, and we will be right back after a few messages.